Okay. Hi, I'm Carol Gold.
I'm Steve Clark.
We're going to talk to you today about the confusion that everyone has around what's coming in 2016 in the November election. And I say confusion, Steve, because I know there are as many people on the right who are Republicans who don't want Trump but don't want to vote for Clinton. And there are a significant amount of people on the left who are Democrat and don't want to vote for Trump. They don't want to vote for Clinton. They don't want to cross over and vote for Trump. So what do? Are they the only two choices that we have? And I'm going to make the argument that there are four choices in any situation, including this situation. And I'm going to base it on something that is a couple thousand years old. And that is the difference between Aristotle and Nagarjuna. So briefly, Aristotle taught us that there is a logical duality to everything, black and white, up and down, yes or no. And when we approach solving a problem in the West, we approach it from a dilemma, die-to lemma proposition, one or the other, dilemma. But in the East, they base problem solving on Nagarjuna, who was a Hindu who converted to Buddhism. And the principle of logic there is that there are four solutions to every problem. For example, you can choose X, you can choose not X, that's the second one. You can choose both X and not X, that's the third one. Or you can choose neither X nor not X, that's the fourth one. So let me give you an example of choosing both, X and not X. A few years ago, my daughter needed a prom dress, and we went out shopping, and she tried on this great dress, and it looked fabulous. It was a one-of-a-kind. She could pull it off, and it was way over budget. So I said, sorry, we can't do it. And we left, and we went shopping to other stores, and eventually we found a beautiful dress she really liked, and it had to be altered, so they pinned it up, and she was to pick it up a week later. All that week while we were waiting to get the dress, I kept remembering how happy she was in that first dress. And I thought, she's a great kid, straight A's. I'm going to buy her the first dress and surprise her. So when we went to pick up the second dress, we stopped at the first store and she said, why are we here? And I said, because we're going to pick something up. And the woman came out with the dress in a bag, ready to go. And my daughter was unbelievably, needless to say, ecstatic. We picked up both dresses. And we were home 2 nights later having dinner when she was really thoughtful and quiet. And I said, what's wrong? She said, Mom, I don't know what to do. I really like both dresses and I don't know which one to wear. And I said, why don't you wear both? And she said, okay, Mom, now you've lost it. I'm going to go wearing 2 dresses. And I said, no, wait a minute. Let's look at this differently. You have a pre-prom cocktail hour and then a picture-taking hour, and then you have the dinner dance. Why don't you wear one dress to the pre-prom picture-taking? The parents are going to be at that event. I'll bring the second dress in the car, and before you leave for the dinner dance, you can change into the second dress, which is exactly what she did. So what happened? Both X and not X. She did both, but how? She only did it by stepping outside of logical duality, black and white thinking. And I argue here that if all the Republicans who don't want Trump, but don't want to vote for Clinton, all the Democrats who don't want Clinton and don't want to vote for Trump, combine with the independents and the people who are just going to stay home, if they all come together and stood together for this one issue and said, you know what? Not X and not X. We don't want either one. We demand another set of choices. There are more of us. We would have a greater impact because it would be the majority of people in this country who would demand 2 other choices. I know there are a lot of people, I have a feeling I'm talking to one, who don't want to vote because they don't like either choice for a variety of reasons. Am I right?
That's correct. First off, I don't like Hillary. I think she's a criminal. I think it's not what I think. I would say it's actually probably based in fact. If you look at the findings in Peter Schweizer's book on the Clinton cash machine, she essentially used her position of power at the Treasury, at the State Department to use it as a funnel for cash for her Clinton Foundation. She basically used that as a platform to get money into her foundation. I think it was a criminal enterprise, and the facts bear it out. Now that goes above and beyond everything else that she's done in her career, which is not what we're talking about. Trump, on the other hand, I'm going to be perfectly frank. I like some of his his things that he said about making the country great again. But at the end of the day, I am an economic libertarian. I don't necessarily believe in restricting trade and restricting the free flow of good of information. And I think he plans to propose a lot of tariffs that I think in the end will not help America, but will actually hurt America. And finally, if you look at Trump from his thought process, he espoused many democratic principles for many years. They have him on record that he was for abortion, that he was for higher taxation. He believed also in eminent domain. So these are principles that any libertarian is against. And so, go ahead.
No, so tell me, let's put them down for a minute. What are you going to do? You're not going to vote?
So I am not going to vote. I am at the point where I don't think either candidate is viable for me. And secondly, I have, like many Americans, I believe some of the voting process is not a fair process. I don't think I would say it's a bit rigged. If you look at some of the ways that they get people to vote with it's well known in certain counties that dead people vote, that they are able to get, they're able to, both parties, I don't want to blame here because I don't know all the facts, but they get voter rolls that dead people vote. It's happened, and it's happened in the past. And secondly, there has been some inconsistencies. If you look over the years where people go to vote and some of the check boxes are pre-selected, some of the stuff is already in place. And so I'm not comfortable with the process where I feel that I'm contributing to this perpetuating this fraud is the best way to say it.
Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, you're a Marine and
Correct.
you're an American citizen, and
Correct.
people have died so that we could vote.
Correct.
Now, I understand you're a voice of many. You're a voice for many.
Right.
There are an awful lot of people that don't want to go to the polls in November.
Right.
But I would say this. You've got to do something. Saying no to that, saying no to a corrupt system, believing as you do, and I would never argue with you, that the system is so corrupted that maybe we're not even electing the president anymore. But then just not showing up in that reality is not helping create another reality. So what is it? For me, if you're not going to vote, then you need to take some other positive steps. So, for example, Mark Levin, radio talk show host, has written a book called The Liberty Amendments, and he talks about how you can use, I think it's the Fifth Amendment. I'm not sure that's the right one, but I think it might be the Fifth Amendment, to have a convention of the states. Okay,
Correct, yeah.
That's one option. Another option would be to vote libertarian.
Correct.
A third option would be to what I'm recommending, which is, why can't I had a thought this morning. When we get off air, I want to go and create a Twitter hashtag.
Right.
Not hashtag never Trump or Clinton.
Right.
Not never Trump or never Clinton, but never Trump or Clinton. I want to see how many people, I want to see how far that hashtag goes. Because what I'm saying is, if you're not going to vote, take that energy and direct it in some other positive way. And to me, because I don't know how to get a convention of states, although I understand 22 states are already on board with that, and I don't know that Gary Johnson is somebody I want to vote for as a libertarian, for me, standing up publicly and saying, I don't want Trump or Clinton, I demand two other choices. We could force enough of us, both conventions, to jettison both candidates. I think they'd sooner jettison Trump than the Democrats will jettison Clinton, but even she is not indestructible. Even she, with enough public pressure. So I'm just saying, if you're not going to vote, because I have that tendency too. I want to say, I don't want to vote for either one of these people, but I would first pull the lever for Gary Johnson before I wouldn't vote. Or I'd write in Ted Cruz or somebody else before I would simply not vote. I'm going to make myself heard one way or the other because I need to be able to sleep at night, and I need to be able to say to my daughter, I didn't abdicate something that people died so I could have. I didn't give that up. I just channeled it in another way. And so does any of that do anything for you?
Well, I would say that what we do here and on our blog post at Above the Fray podcast is that we provide a voice to add some clarity to the marketplace of ideas of options out there. Again, I just put it this: if I'm on record, I would basically say I would 100% not vote for Hillary. The problem is that if you, I think out of the two, Hillary is the worst of two evils. But I'm not at the point where I think if I put a vote that I'd be adding or subtracting from the conversation. I just think I'd be putting a vote into a system that I don't believe in right now.
I have to think about that because there have been people historically who, I mean, I'm going to take Jesus for a minute. I don't know why this is coming to me, but he basically put a vote into a system he didn't believe in. He actually didn't walk away from Judaism. He just said the system's corrupt.
Right.
Pharisees are corrupt.
Correct.
And here's my position on that.
Right.
And I'm not leaving the herd. I'm just not going to be silent about what's going on, no matter what it costs me. So in a way, you and I, we put ourselves out there on the blog post because we take on the government. And my post on why Obama calls it ISIL, if you haven't read it, please go read it. It was 2 days ago, got a lot of traction. There's an education there about where our president is coming from and why he uses that term. It's risky when you and I do stuff like that. We put ourselves out there. I think it's incumbent upon us to put ourselves out there. And I hear what you're saying. You're saying you feel that in a way that you're doing your civic duty by the posting.
That's correct.
And yes, there's truth to that as well. But I don't know, I feel like if we don't take on the system in some concrete way, election day is a specific moment within the system. It's a specific moment. It can be a life-altering moment, a nation-altering moment. It was with Truman and Dewey when they thought, So I feel like we need to do something, and I guess maybe I'm repeating myself here, or in your case, beating a dead horse, because maybe I'm not going to convince you that you need to do anything other than not vote.
Right.
But I feel like people who don't vote in this next election, Dietrich Bonhoeffer,
right,
a German pastor who took on Hitler, said, not to stand is to stand, not to speak is to speak. I think when you don't stand, you are standing. You're standing in nothingness. You're standing in, I'm opting out. I don't think that's who you are. I don't think you're an opt-out kind of guy.
No, I'm not opting out. I'm just making another decision, that's all.
But that decision is to do nothing in relationship to the problem.
No, I'm speaking out in different ways, but I'm just not. My specific vote is not at this point is not going to anybody.
Well, okay. I can't bring them over today, but I'm going to work on them all week, and maybe we'll come back to you with a.
If you like the video, please submit comments below the post and find us online at AboveTheFrayPodcast.com. Thanks for watching.
I'm Carol Gold.
I'm Steve Clark.
Bye.